Are you guys allowed? Yeah.
All right. Well, since it's my last, I'm gonna use this hammer. Hey, 3 years.
Yeah.
You had it for years. Oh, yeah. I call the meeting of our select board, Board of Selectmen's meeting of May. Is this the 14th? 13th to order. All right. Welcome, everyone. We'll go through our folders and files here, sign a few things, and we'll be right with you.
I'm so sorry, there's no link
There's no link.
on the website. Yeah, it just says find your number. Or you can try clicking on it and just says find your number. Is there anybody on the meeting yet? No.
I'll explain it. In my last act of defiance, I closed the public out completely.
That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be on Facebook in 10 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, well. The evil person that I am has permeated everything. Who knows, maybe nobody will tune in, maybe no need for parting shots now, you know?
Keep dreaming.
Yeah, that's.
All right.
Did you read the middle one yet? No. No. Am I in trouble for something?
No, it was an approval from, DES.
Good.
Fine with it.
Yep. Oh, nice.
Hope he's going in, but
Yes, sir.
You didn't get this one, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. just sitting here thinking, oh, Facebook traffic is right.
Are we awake?
Yeah, it was on there.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, she was.
So then I just got caught on hot mic. That's all right, I'm over it, moving on.
I should clarify, the information was on there, a live link wasn't on there, so you had to actually do a manual step.
Mm-hmm.
Those signs you picked up,
Yes.
are they out there?
Yes. Along with some hardware and some posts.
Just quiet for postage, man.
Correct.
Agendas?
I emailed them today. Nothing printed yet.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I read it, but
You want mine right here?
I'm not printing
I
mine
made
right
it
now.
one. Will be quicker. Sorry, Chuck.
No, that's good. I did read it. Appreciate the heads up. I mean, it was one of those quick reads.
All right.
I figure I could have rolled through even without a.
Yeah.
But. Come on. So, all right. Here's our list of minutes because those aren't in here. I will not capture those. All right, so let's go into our approvals for the meeting minutes. I have the meeting of April 20th, Board of Selectmen's meeting, and I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Hold on a second.
Any discussion?
None. Hold on.
Now and I. We have the meeting minutes from May 24th, Board of Selectmen's meeting. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Hold on a second.
Okay, any discussion?
None.
All right.
Hold on.
Hal and I moved on. I have a manifest in front of me of $26,983.28. I make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor?
Hold on.
And Alan, our signature folder had numerous intents to come. The timber industry is thriving in Effingham this year. And we did a review of the mail folder, which is rather light. And we did have a 91A request from Mr. Lawrence Edwards. He's requesting the selectmen signed agreement for the non-federally insured repurchase agreement with the Bank of New Hampshire. All right, so that's.
We should send a copy of the entire contract, because usually the repurchase is not standalone. It relates to the bigger agreement. So whatever the full agreement was for setting up the accounts,
Yeah,
we basically should send the whole thing, which would also include the repurchase.
sure. I'm sure there's a lot of probably confusion on the whole repurchasing thing because it's such non-federally insured. And I guess the short version is that money sweeps back into this account. It gets dispersed for insurance purposes. Federally insured funds are up to $250,000 in each institution. It disperses out to numerous institutions so that the funds are always fully insured.
Fully federally insured.
Fully federally insured in the towns.
When I was in the credit unions years ago, when they
Yeah.
had extra cash, if example under the board, they would go out to other credit unions and banks up to the maximum amount. So everything was invested as insured, but it's done through a repurchase agreement. So we'll get the copy, we'll send it. I'm sure there'll be more discussion on that one.
It's tricky language. It's an easy understand. The money just goes out and it stays fully protected at all times for the town, so that it avoids any risk.
So just for those that are looking, so the information is put out there on social media is not necessarily correct. So let's read the document and then address it again.
You're saying that stuff on social media may not be correct. Okay, enough fun with that. Why don't we go over to Audrey and see what's going on in the office?
I want to, Tom, I want to clarify that we're not doing a Boston Post cane presentation.
I've never heard back from the person that was contacted. So we're gonna go in the shadow box and down the road up to represent, and we find out the next. I
Okay,
haven't heard back from the person I called.
all right,
I think that was about 3 weeks ago.
yes,
So,
we haven't heard anything.
you know, there's a lot of time and effort put into this. But the old assistant here too, myself, it was just kind of disappointing not to hear back, see if they're, whether, yes or no, that's all required of the answer. But no call, no message here at the office, I'm checking right here in the office. So it's too late to do anything at this point. to change names at this point in the game. Without not changing, but just change the person and get the plaque made up with a name on it. So they'll be done at a later date.
Two comments, I guess, from me then. One is the old assistant, I think you meant the previous assistant in the office, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did a lot of work. And, the thing we hadn't got around to doing, and a lot of that was because we really didn't feel a rush, because the public really wasn't accessing some of the facilities, is those two beautiful boxes for the canes that Jack Williams constructed. Hopefully you folks can find somebody to mount them, or maybe reach out to Jack Williams and get accurate instructions on. He did some work on that detail and just how they can mount. So you got to take some stuff out, mount it, put things back. So please follow up on getting those mounted.
And they will be mounted, like we said, at the library, one will be there, a little history of the cane, and one here now. Did what I could on it. We did what we could on it.
Okay, and on Saturday, I will have paper copies of the warrant articles, as well as some of the town reports. But so if people complain if we run out of town reports for any reason, we will have the warrant articles that they can write in. And I received the instructions for our audit, our 2020 audit, which is happening June 10th. I've sent that out to all of the boards that owe me information for the auditors. So I will keep tabs on them. I asked for it the Friday prior to the audit, and hopefully people get me stuff earlier. We will be working with our financial person next Wednesday on the capital assets, and if he feels comfortable, we'll have something to be compliant with the audit. I'm meeting with the treasurer and hopefully the new treasurer next Wednesday. I asked if I could sit in on that meeting so I can understand the process and what's going on, and maybe establish a new process at town hall, because I think that's where we might be delinquent in 2020.
One question on that.
Yes.
So deputy treasurer, is that appointed or?
Appointed by the treasurer. I do have a comment on that too. This is, there's been a lot going on over the last 3 years, and every year there's been a lot of things that the board is focused on, or individual board members have taken projects and focused on. So you can't get to every little detail, and you have to prioritize. In leaving, one of the things that would have been on my list to bring up going forward would be to have a review periodically, maybe 3 months, pick a number, of the treasurer's work, because those books are open to review to the Board of Selectmen. And that's a process that I've never known to take place. It has been on my bucket list, but you just get buried sometimes with so many things. So just going forward, as you speak the process on that, I think that would be beneficial, certainly for yourself, but other board members here, it might be worth understanding the process.
Okay. I would think at a minimum quarterly to make sure their numbers are matching the office numbers and reconciling.
Exactly. And again, just with personal knowledge for people that are involved at this level, I think it'd be very beneficial. You know, I'm a numbers and money crunching kind of guy. And that's something we didn't get. Sorry to jump.
No worries. Darlene and I are going to institute getting budget to actuals out to the board members, so that they know where they are. We've gotten them to the police department and to the town clerk, but all of the boards should know where they are.
Do we have a report capability to also provide a revenue report? On a same time, here's what we were budgeting and here's what we actually are relative to numbers.
Darlene's nodding her head. She's
Can
more
we just take a
savvy.
look at that and see what we come up with? Because that's one of the bugaboos I've had since I was on the budget committee years ago. It's like we spend all our time talking about expenses. And you can't really get a full flavor for that if you understand what money you've got coming through the door.
There's a minimum amount that goes to the selectman's office, but those reports are available through the email. So you can get feedback on auto registration. I go in often and get the ones for property taxes, so I've been staying current on that. So those are all available. All you
Yeah,
just-
one thing we probably ought to have something in this meeting, like once a month or something like that, or even quarterly.
Yeah.
Just so we better hear what's going on.
And that again is something you can get through Deanna and have her schedule in. There's varying levels of detail, and there's, say, property taxes for the past 3-4 years, whatever's carrying forward on yield taxes or liens and unpaid property taxes, those kind of things. You can have a very distilled one-page item. And that's typically what I just asked her for, that one pager to see where we are on that. And then she can do the same with the revenue stream items.
They also do QuickBooks.
What's that?
They do QuickBooks as well.
Oh, okay.
So when everything that she does at the bank comes to me,
Okay.
we get into QuickBooks.
All right.
You probably need to clarify that because Darlene's speaking quite softly.
Oh, okay, I'll just, for in case Darlene wasn't heard, there's a reconciliation process, and anything that goes to the bank, it travels through the town clerk tax collector's office, comes back and gets entered into a QuickBooks chart, so that that's captured in both offices.
I need to learn and understand the numbers. We talked about it briefly a couple of weeks ago, the current use money that goes to the Conservation Commission. I received a call from, I guess it was Carol during the elections the other night, because she was talking to Jack, who was with Emmeline, about numbers, and so I have not found where to confirm how much of current use goes to the Conservation Commission. And so
$2,500 was the last thing I had seen on that. And that was a topic I was going to touch on today, as we've seen more land use changes, which generates that revenue stream. We brought it up a couple of weeks ago. It would be probably a good thing for the Board of Selectmen to review that, because you can change that amount. Now, that may have to go to a vote at town meeting for next year, but I think it would be a good budgeting strategy going forward to increase that amount, so that that could go into the potential purchase of properties by the Conservation Commission and other possible uses. But
Michelle Clark should have that information, because that does have, I believe it does have to be a warrant article.
I
To
know,
change that amount,
yes,
and any warrant article is usually kept a record.
the
And
permanent.
DRA will have a record of all that, she should have that.
And you're again talking about Department of Revenue Administration, our primary contact, Michelle Clark. And what you're referencing is the permanent file for the town of Effingham. Now, I have the permanent file and a copy thereof, and there are some deficiencies in it. So sometimes they don't capture everything. Like our Conservation Commission is not in the permanent file, probably because it was established, I think, in the 70s. So it's on my bucket list of things to get back to DRA and say, this is something that has been approved, we want it to get put on the permanent file. So there are some corrections to be made, very few. And there's probably a couple things in there to put into a warrant, in which I can leave that information with you, touch base with someone. There's a few loose ends. When I come across them, as I'm cleaning off my tables full of files now, I will email or contact you, both of you, and let you know, here's an item, do what you will with it, it's lingering.
And do I hear say that I am breathing and I'm starting to review the contracts drawer, and here we are with contracts and some of the procedures that I haven't had time until now. So,
When you're ready to be on the historic town hall, let me know, and I'll come in.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I'll come in with
I
that.
don't know what's going on there.
Okay.
I don't know what's Grant, what is
Do
it?
you want a 3 or just?
Oh,
Darlene
yeah,
and I?
no, discussion. for
Okay,
sure, but
all right. So you're ready,
It was-
what I'm hearing is you're ready to have that discussion.
In a couple days, yes.
Okay, we'll do it next week.
Okay.
Kind of short. That's all I have.
Thank you. Tom,
You're pretty late, got a lot of the oil containment sealer. That was, it's all in already, done.
if it isn't fully completed, Kevin has mentioned to me to put that on my list of order, and somehow I keep dropping the ball when I see you in here, or, haven't communicated. I think I told Audrey, but
I'll order that up right
a
after.
day or two ago.
What, I missed what you said, Tom.
There's a
Ordering what?
sealer,
Oil containment sealer.
Oh, okay,
it's the concrete sealer to in case of an oil spill, it's oil, it's resistant so the oil doesn't soak in.
great, thanks.
And at the same time, I guess I'll send out Audrey and about the other sort that I stand.
I sent them a letter. I should have had it on my list. I did send a letter this week, both hard copy and electronically.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's it. I'll see you, Chuck.
Before you start,
Yeah.
just because Tom mentioned Eversource, these little detail things. There's a outstanding court filing, and I covered that with Audrey the other day, knowing that the Eversource 2019 is a standalone filing for abatements on taxation. And you should be aware of that. What's taking place is all those other court cases for the utility companies, the ones we put behind us, 14 to 18. There's a small one sticking out there to be dealt with. After that, everything gets standardized and you won't see any more theoretically. But Gary Roberge is the contact, and I had called him a while back, and I've been meaning to follow up because he hadn't got back to me. That is a separate, it's in our contract with this Avatar assessing, but it is a standalone expense. So you won't be able to get through like Lauren or whoever. It goes directly to Gary you need to talk to get an update on that. So, but that will be down the road as the other cases they're being settled from 2014 to 18 are resolved in the courts. Once they've cleared that off, because this is such a big thing, then they'll get to these cases. So you have that coming down the road.
A window of time.
Yes.
All right, I ran into Lenny and we had a discussion at the ballot meeting the other day. The Cemetery Road does need some gravel, and apparently there is now a stone that's just outside the gate that is high enough out of the ground, and it's apparently a peach stone that a lower slum car is going to take out their undercarriage. So we'll need to get a hold of Ron and work on that. The transfer station contacted me yesterday. They had somebody call in that wanted to bring in 100 tires. And I told Mark he could convey the message that that is larger than we're going to accommodate. They need to reach out directly to a recycling company and do that. If they still insist coming our way, we'll take it 6 tires a week. We'll charge the regular freight. And it'll take them 17 weeks to get paid, get it in here.
Just on that one again, Chuck, I was in trying to provide some transition information to the staff so that, things that I was on my plate were this a list. And in that, the contact from Mark came in and relayed that. So NRA handles our tires, and through them is Bob's Tire in Massachusetts does that process. So Audrey was providing that contact information
To that person?
For that particular vendor.
We gave it to Mark, because we don't know who that is.
Yeah, that's good.
So we gave Mark Bob's tire.
Shoot that, I'm sure. Okay, super. There was a controversy that came up at the transfer station the other day regarding the price of demo materials. So in our policies and procedures, we've outlined dozens and dozens and dozens of the types of things and what the charges are. But we also know the list The one-off list can be much, much larger, so we put language in the policy, said transfer station attendants are the one that can set the fee when it's not specifically identified. Apparently, one of the guys set the fee and collected it, another guy came along and set a different fee, it was $5 less. And I will ask Mark if that person does want their $5 back to send something in writing to the town, and we'll address it in the selectmen's meeting. Do we know the start date of the Snow Road Bridge?
It's supposed to be Monday, the 17th.
Monday the 17th. Is Ron set to put up the detour signs and stuff? Or
That comes with the bridge contractor, and in fact,
is he doing the signage?
he is supposed to, so
Okay,
I'm going to, there's a few things that, like I said, were on, detailed to me as a board member. And, those bigger items I'm going to cover, and, my section is, get a feel for what you guys, have questions about, or I have some thoughts and see where you want to go.
the beaver, scenario. I've asked, Chris Garcia to contact the firm out of Madison that's going to do our metal work on the historic town hall to come up with a design for beaver deceivers that can be mounted on the upper end of the waterfall in a culvert. So I'm starting to look at the fact of how many times we having to have Evans Brothers come out with the backhoe to dig stuff out. And I'm actually at a point where I think a one-time expense to really eliminate the future cost of every single year with the beaver is something for us to consider. So Chris is actually working with that company. They're gonna go out and measure all the culverts. They're gonna take a look at what we've got on Pine River Road. They have looked at it. Apparently, because of the way it was designed, it's already moved. And apparently it was put together with wire, and some of the wire is already in the stretch of break. So it's probably gonna be revisited even on Pine River Road.
Sure.
But we're gonna take it something in aluminum rather than steel, so it'll last longer. The metal guy basically said with the steel and the water we have up here,
Yeah,
at this point, it'll eat through it much quicker than aluminum. Aluminum is still gonna get eaten, but not as bad, not as quick. So I'm doing some homework on that arena to hopefully mitigate future costs. I'm working with the chief and the sergeant on setting up a new Effingham NH Police Association nonprofit 501c3. There are some folks that have indicated interest to make some charitable donations directly to the police department, as long as they can be used by the police department. And this is one avenue to be able to do that is with a nonprofit. Tomorrow, I'm climbing underneath the floor of the library at Town Hall with the historic architect and a structural engineer to take a look at powder coast beetle damage, and then at that point we will come up with a report around what their recommendation is going to be to fixes. We'll then have to determine how the money's going to work, and then we'll have to send the whole thing up to LCHIP for their approval before we can begin work. I think we're at the beginning stages of this thing. We have no clue what it's going to look like and what it's going to entail at this point in time. But the process is started. We did get the asbestos report back from RFP Environmental on the asbestos. Yes, we have asbestos. We know we did, but they obviously have to have it in the state report. I'll work with Chris and we will get out and find out what initial pricing would be if it's over or under 15,000 to do it. All I know is I've heard the word expensive, and I don't know what expensive is really going to translate into for money. But if it's over 15, we'll go through the standard procurement process with the town, bidding it out, newspaper, the whole bit. If it's under that, we'll take a look at it and see what we can get for people that are interested in doing that work. I followed up with Spectrum, have not heard back yet. So anybody that's looking at their Spectrum bill in 2021, they're not going to see a franchise fee that's there. It's 3%. It's not there. And the reason for that is Spectrum determined that it had overcharged all of the Spectrum users. So they're basically not charging anybody for at least most of this year, probably all of this year, from what I was told. And Spectrum has announced a price increase across the board on a lot of its services on May 2nd. If you've got Spectrum, you might want to check your bills because they're going up. Our town energy, I pulled together the LP gas, propane gas for the 4 buildings and added it up and basically put the dates in there and I've shipped it off to our town energy. Looking at last year's fixed price formula, I'm not sure, I'm gonna do a spreadsheet, it's gonna be that close, whether going with our town energy would be less expensive than doing the rack rate, which is half, we've been using with AmeriGas. The rack rate issue is good unless you have some kind of shortage, and then the prices drive through the roof, so there's a risk discussion that we're gonna have to have. We want to mitigate any risk relative to our budgets, or are we willing to go free for all like we've been doing? More information to come when I get it. Friday, we have chairs being delivered, they need to be set up.
We're
And they-
coming in today at 3:30.
And are they gonna be setting up in there, or are they just gonna be delivered?
I don't honestly know if they'll help set up or not. I'm going to be there because I have to sign paperwork for the receipt.
Okay,
So, I may be setting up chairs, you know, somebody want to help, come on over.
what time is it?
3 o'clock today, to 3 to 4, say.
Okay, all right,
I thought we were allowed to set up like at the school.
That's why we at 3:30 we have
That's
that.
actually the school tomorrow,
yeah, Deanna's got it in for 3:30 tomorrow.
Oh, I guess what we'll do, we won't be setting them up then because it's Thursday. I was thinking it was a Friday delivery, right? We can store them in the auditorium. Okay, that's what Principal Morrissey said.
Okay, good. Then we're the setup team on Friday. Got it. That's what I'm looking for. All right, that's it, Mike.
right? They look a volunteer.
Okay, so let's see what I got here. Well, one of those things was showcase events to meet with them and sign that paperwork and receive the chairs. I'll touch that one away. And CMA Engineers is looking to come in at the end of the month. What's what we had established with the Bailey Road culverts design proposals for the new structure to go in. The new structure would be categorized as a bridge because that's where the road is moved and the state would require. So that culverts that they're proposing are 10 feet plus. And we'll get the final results of those 3 choices that they had listed and how they best comport with the Department of Environmental Services requirements. Because they had a 10, a 12, and a 16 footer, and not any one of them was like, that's the one because of the rules. There was always something a little different. And that's because you're not really at a stream, you're at a transition from lake to stream, and it gets a little more complicated. With that, though, they should be calling, or somebody here needs to make sure that they stay on the time schedule and come in and present at the end of the month. Because that's the stuff we're gonna need, all that information to file for a wetlands permit, along with the design that they've got to budget and schedule for. And there's a filing for a grant for up to 40%. It's a 319 grant. And that's the windows from June to September. I'm going to throw this out there for you gentlemen to consider, if possible. If you're willing, I would come in and view the final presentation with you all. That's kind of the thing I kicked off. I would love to see it through. And with that, I would be happy to, and I will do this today and tomorrow, contact our representative at TES and I've worked with for the last several years here on this, and see if we position ourselves for the filing for the grant. And that's up to 40%, like you said. It's going to be not an inexpensive project. So I could be a point person for you behind the scenes to contact her and see about getting the filing done, and everything to you, take your instructions on
Yeah,
it.
and I've actually been thinking along those lines, so I've actually reached out and will follow up today to NHMA the attorneys,
Yep.
to find out if there's a specific process we as the board should follow to have you help us continue that project going forward.
All right,
So I don't want to do any missteps. We'll make it fully transparent, but we are going to move forward with that replacement of that bridge.
so, and to that end, I'm just saying, if you want me to continue in the capacity I have been in trying to get grants and to be a contact person for DES, I'm happy to do it. And I'll, report back with any interactions and provide documents. So, but that's for you guys to work out, and you can, a phone call away whenever you decide. We did receive also today the final permit for the overflow culverts on Pine River Road. And that's a multi-pronged item. You have the engineering company to make sure this is done according to the plan that they've constructed. We have Mr. Evans as the contractor to do the work. We have DES involvement, and we would have, for the small patchwork, I would recommend that R&D paving could be brought in, because they're going to be doing a small project in town, and they be available, and they've done some patchwork for us in the past. It's not it won't exceed $15,000 for bidding, and it's a contractor that you've worked with in the past. So
Along those same lines, Mike, so you've been a licensed culvert installer for the town for a few years.
Yeah.
Saved the town thousands of dollars. We're no longer gonna have that capacity, so we're gonna have to spend on engineering. Do I need to make sure that HEB knows that they need to be involved with that element of it, and reporting to DES?
Okay, how about, let me get back to you on that one in just a
All
second.
right,
On the Pine River installation for the overflows and the 4 vendors we would be using. Again, this is a project that I guess I've kind of spearheaded. We work together on it, but this one is falling into my wheelhouse. Here again, if the board would like me to be an intermediary in working with all those vendors and be on site to work with that project, I'm happy to do it. It's my town too. I don't have to be sitting here to do it. It's a project that I was very much invested in. So again, for you gentlemen to decide what you'd like to do, but I would be happy to do that. The culvert certification renewal to recertification is a $25 fee, which is pretty minimal. I've set that up for June 15th in the anticipation I might be sitting here. Audrey has asked me if I would still be interested in taking the class. And here again, maybe there's a capacity that I might be able to help with smaller culvert installations with the road crews to oversee some of that. And we can talk about that, because through that certification, you wouldn't have a lot of the permitting wait times. Some of the road, there's a road maintenance filing package that is just, it can be a lot. So again, maybe there's something that we could work out there, and through the course of the summer, prepping for the next leg of road repairs or some of our gravel roads, maybe we can do something on that, and that could be some help. Otherwise, yeah, if you want to stay with your nose clean and not open the door, you might have engineering items with culverts. I would say those are primarily ones based around water flow. So we can have a greater discussion after town meeting, and I can speak with the gents on that. So let's see. This one, Snow Road Bridge. I have again had a long-standing relationship at this point with our structural engineer and our bridge builder, who's constructed or rehabbed more than 100 bridges around the state. Some of our local towns, they work for a neighboring town and the Department of Transportation. So he's a real deal. He's a true bridge construction company. And once I had the results of the election, I reached out to a lot of the vendors to let them know of the situation and a change of contact for the town. Mr. Hanson is apprehensive that I wouldn't be a conduit between him and our engineering company and play that role and report back to the board as I've done. So again, this project is gonna happen. It's supposed to start on Monday and all the signage and everything else like that's coming with that. I will offer again, if you would like me to be available to work with Mr. Fournier and Mr. Hanson, and then do just a direct report and contact the chair on any issues that may come up or how to resolve, present a resolution when, you know, as I've done in the past, and see if that's appropriate. So I would be happy to do that.
I'm thinking, Tom, I don't know if you agree that because this one is imminent, that we should still have Mike working on it with us,
I don't think so.
overseeing it,
I don't think so.
until we can work out over the next few weeks, we're doing one line out.
Sure.
But this one's moving forward. Do we need to do something in the newspaper for advertising?
Yeah, I think we probably should post that ASAP on road closures. And so I guess in all of the fun we've been having, that we've got overlooked. And I will confirm with Mike today if his timeline is truly gonna be on Monday, because sometimes he's on a project that carries long.
Well, if we put it out there, it's gonna start within the next, it's intended to start the next week or two. Then I think that's important. And I think we should be able to use the template that we did for Elm Street relative to the road closure. And we just need to modify the language for Snow Road Bridge.
Well, here you got it. It's-
And if I remember correctly, the original schedule was road closed for about 5 to 6 weeks.
We gave him a 60-day window because you just don't know weather, materials, anything that could hamper the project.
Okay, so we'll put it out there that it could be closed up to 60 days,
Right.
depending upon circumstances.
It should be less than that, but we didn't want to like be real hard liners on it. But you also want to point out the detour will be to go up over Culford Hill Road.
And down Snow. And Ron and Ron's crew was out there yesterday, the day before yesterday, working on the road, re-ditching it, so hopefully that will help with some of the water flows and things like that. So I think the road's in pretty good shape at this point for the heavy traffic that will be going over for a month or so.
We can tell people just follow the detail sign, right?
Yeah,
Pretty much. I did go over the road a week or so, I think it was last week. And the grading operation has been progressively widening out that road. So it looked like it was really good for travel, so that most places you're not going to get locked up. People are going to be able to
yeah,
get
and
by.
there's enough visibility in most sections with some pullovers, so that, you know, if somebody's a little uncomfortable driving, just slide over a little bit, stop, let the other person go by, and everything will work.
So, and with that, I think 2 full-size pickup trucks should be able to navigate the road when they come across each other. And I would probably say an emphasis should be made to reach out to Waste Management to make sure that we're not scheduling pickups on an active dump day, an open, dump day, which typically is only going to be on a Wednesday, I would imagine, but.
Yeah, and I'll reach out, I think it's the big family tree company out of Maine that owns that Skidder area up where Culver Hill and Snow come together in that corner.
Okay,
I'm almost thinking for Waste Management, when they come in, they usually come in with a tandem haul.
right,
They could actually park the tandem there, do their switch out like they normally do down at Historical Society today,
okay,
and then basically head back down, so they're not trying to pull two of them up over the big hill.
right. That's a good point, very good point. So Audrey had some breathing room. She's choking up a little over there, get the oxygen.
Can we try and get that newspaper article started?
Yes, but I'm wondering if the newspaper is the biggest area, you know, to put it on the Facebook pages.
Oh, we'll put it out everywhere. We'll have to put it on the website.
Okay,
We'll make sure it gets out on Effingham, beautiful Effingham, Hampshire Connect. We'll get them all
Okay.
out there.
all right,
And
Yeah.
they'll spread the word. So,
got it. And that starts the Monday, right?
Yeah, and I will call right away.
Alright.
When done here, I will call Mr. Hanson and just see what is, how consistent his timeline is.
Okay, terrific.
So, a couple other things were in the pipeline here, and, there was, some vendor contact just to get some kind of, pricing and an overview of what kind of construction should go into the fire station to the large fire station parking lot. Here again, I would offer to the board that I can continue going down the needs and requirements for that parking area in the projected cost and put something together for you guys so that if you budget for it or if we have that stimulus money or whatever to go out this year, I can work on that. So
does Jerry have the numbers back yet? Have you seen them?
I spoke with him and, you know, there's always a little concern on just what he's willing to give because he doesn't want to. He needs to stay an arm's length away from something and any other vendors who are putting information out there. So it's not an actual bid, it's not putting prices. So it's just a conceptual, yeah, you know.
He can be competitive here.
And the conversations tend to go on, you know, depth, width, type of materials to be used in an advisory capacity. Just so it's for me and just collecting data, and I will put some numbers together and stuff based on what I can get, so that, you know, we're not compromising any vendor who may want to bid.
Yep.
And I'm willing to do that. It's been on my list for years. The fire department's parking lot is it's tough,
In need of help.
right? So again, I leave you with that to consider, as well as I did establish, maybe less than 2 weeks ago maybe, contact with Todd Mason at District 3 DOT and one of their engineers, and they came out and met with me at the transition point of Hunter's Bridge Road, Parsons Field Road, and Route 153 at the bottom of Marston Hill on that corner. There's an opportunity to coordinate with the New Hampshire DOT in transitioning that corner. And here again, you know, we have some vendor information in there to kind of take away all that multiple crossing lane stuff, which is definitely a hazard, and make it sweep into the corner of the road with a wide opening so trucks could transition, you know, in and out. But DOT would super elevate, lift up that corner as you come down the hill and bank it. So you don't, in the winter time, in an effort to not go shooting off there. So again, that's initial contact was made, discussions have taken place at some level, and I can turn that over to you folks to continue with, or I can again try to play a behind the scenes active role and see bringing information to you from the various partners on projects like this. And I will leave that for you gentlemen to mull over and give me feedback after you've had time to digest all this. And let's see, there's a second round of oil grant filings. This is one of the previous kind of specs and pages that I initially sent in. I think the whole package is in the office, which is a multi-page thing that went up to Dean Robertson at the DES. I believe as of May 4th, the Department of Environmental Services office, state offices in general, have brought the workers back into the buildings. They were working remotely, and I had not been able to get in touch with Dean. I've sent emails and left messages at the only contact numbers I had. Hopefully that situation has changed, but this is another opportunity to find out if you have to file before June or after June for the opportunity to get $2,500 worth of matching funds for the oil containment, the program. The program should be able to start pretty soon, as Kevin gets things sealed. You don't need the door to be actually in there if you wanted to start it. I think he's waiting on that roll-up door. The other thing that wasn't originally noticed is there's a big pipe that used to protect people from backing in up top. Didn't realize at the time that is sleeved, so it sits through the concrete and it actually goes straight through, so water's been allowed to go down into that containment area. So I was talking to Mr. Cody about potential ways to seal that up, and that's something that'll have to be followed up on. If you don't want water.
Yeah, I actually talked about that with Mark yesterday.
Okay.
We'll figure out how to do a concrete fix on that one.
Yeah, you could put like a pedestal under there and fill it. You could put diamond plate over the top of it once it's filled, so no pressure could dislodge your plugs. But I'm sure that's not horribly difficult to work out, but you might want to consider chasing more grant money. Don't know, it's up to you guys. The window of opportunity is now, I would say. I know I had put it out there to the CEO, and we had talked about getting her in after town meeting for a meeting with you guys to update on where things are going. Zoning enforcement usually has 1, 2, or 3 legal actions pending in some degree, whether they're full-on court things or the proposal that they could go to court, or some other things that just in the pipeline that you would probably benefit from conversation with Rebecca in person. So you might want to follow up on getting her in as soon as possible. Okay. And I will at some point connect with either Audrey or you, Chuck, Tom, want somebody here and give you whatever I have on the preliminary contacts I've made with our senators and Congress representatives in Washington about infrastructure, potentially getting those funds. And we're waiting for what happens, but there's points of contacts in these representatives' office that can be useful in staying abreast of what's available, how the programs work, what you could target. So I'll turn over who I've been talking to, and you guys can see if you can't chase down some more revenue for us on that. With that, I'm going to look for a copy of the Pine River permit that came in today to have that to share with all the parties that would be involved in that process. But other than that, I think I'm done with, just would say that if we wanted to, I could either email something out to you gentlemen, or we could go over, if we have copies here of the warrant articles, and just once again establish that the suggestions they put forward earlier on who might want to speak to what issue. If you may have that documentation, I don't. Oh, you do? Okay. So.
Yeah, and I'm good with what we talked about before as far as we do what. I just lost my comment.
Okay, I'll just provide you an updated copy.
That'll work.
I think the originals probably are out of step with the warrant article is written, because I think that may have gotten modified. It's jumbled around. So yeah, I'll go through and I'll put a list together of the article number and who's speaking to it, and you guys can take that and just adjust your copies of the warrant articles that I'm sure you probably have a physical updated copy. We expect nothing less from you. So there you go. So to that end, I think that's my bucket list here. Anything else, you can certainly reach out and connect with me on any issues that you find lingering. And I did again meet with some of the staff to kind of go over any of their questions, concerns, where things are at, and offered that same any assistance I can. If you come across something that is a one-off item and nobody seems to know where it comes from, what it is, what you do with it, or any concerns, on the off chance I know something about that, give me a call or email me and I'll get back to So I think I'm done with that. That leaves us to old business, which looks like it was already covered earlier. Any new business? I have my notes.
We haven't covered.
Okay. So with that, we're at the point of public comments, and then after that, we can go into a 91A, it looks like. And then after that, I think we can enter into a work session to go over some of the other issues that were just staff related, office concerns, openings, hour changes, whatever's being presented that we might want to consider going forward to meet the new season and whatever developments are happening with COVID and whatnot. All right, so public comment is the point we're at now. And is there anybody there?
There is, Mr. Meisen is here, so, John, if you want to raise your hand or put something in the chat box, let us know.
I'll just discuss briefly with the rationale for going into a non-public here that's on the agenda. It looks like this will be under RSA 91A:3, Roman 2, subparagraph A, in relationship to reputation and employees and all that good stuff.
Okay, I'll get David.
And,
There's no comments.
No comment?
So to that end, I will make a motion to enter into non-public under the previously stated RSA. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, all in
All right.
Aye. Hal and I, and with that, we'll take a 5-minute recess, and when Audrey comes back, she'll shut down the link here for a little bit, and then we're gonna come back in public session, close that out, and then we'll go into a work session with some staff. How are you? We're gonna take a moment here for Audrey to get us 5 minutes more.
You're good.
All right, so we're ready to come back out of non-public into public session. And with that, I will make a motion to do so. Do I have a second?
Hold on a second.
Ooh, it's pretty close, guys.
You started
I'm
going.
gonna redo. All in favor? Aye. And Hal and I, and with that, I didn't feel there was any reason to seal any meeting minutes. Okay, so we're good to go. And with that, I think we're at the point where our active selectmen's meeting is really at an end. But instead of adjourning, I think we should open up a work session. So I'll make a motion to give us about a 5-minute break and then go into a work session with the office staff around the various issues that could be brought before the board.
Yeah, hold on a second now.
Okay, then all in
All
favor?
right,
All right, Hal and I.
5 minutes.
I like this job. Break, a break.